Buongiorno friends, this is Ray and welcome back to the Port of Indecision channel. We just got back from a 23-day adventure we're calling the Best of Italy and Croatia. We spent 3 days in Venice before taking a train down to Ravenna to board the Celebrity Constellation. Our first port of call was Trieste, followed by Zadar. Then we went to Brindisi, Italy, crossing the Adriatic Sea. We then came back across the Adriatic Sea to Kotar, then to Split, Croatia. We toured the walls of Dubrovnik, and then after touring Dubrovnik, we had a day at sea as we sailed around the boot of Italy, and we went between Italy and Sicily. And we headed to the Amalfi Coast, where we docked in Salerno and then went to see the Pompeii ruins. The next day we sailed back up to Civitavecchia, where we got a train and went into Rome and spent a day touring there before we traveled up by train to Florence and then down to Siena. And then we spent a day in the Tuscan wine country before heading back along the coast. And we stopped in San Gimignano and then took a train to Cinque Terre, spent 3 days there, and then finished up our trip in Milan and Lake Como. In today's episode, we'll tour the streets of Rome, visit the Colosseum, and go back in time and walk the Roman Forum. Hey, if this is your first time to the Port of Indecision, make sure you click on that subscribe button. It's free and it doesn't require a passport. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and leave a comment. We'll always reply. Enjoy the video.
We sailed from the Port of Indecision.
Well, the Celebrity Constellation docked in Civitavecchia, and we took a short bus from the cruise port to the train station, and we were soon going to be getting on the train and heading to Rome, where we would drop our luggage off and begin our Rome experience. We stayed at the Best Western Plus Hotel Universo, which was only a 5-minute walk from the train terminal and very central to everywhere in Rome.
Hello friends, it's Ray and welcome back to the Port of Indecision. Well, we are in Rome, starting the second half of our vacation on the land trip, and we stopped for a cappuccino and pizza at Opio Cafe, which is located right outside of the Colosseum. There's our pizzas.
And here's a tip to prevent a scam. If you see some local citizens dressed up as Roman soldiers and they're asking you to take a picture with you, it's not for free and it's not a hospitable thing. At the end, they're going to be asking you for money. As you can see from this video, the people that got their pictures taken are refusing, and the Roman soldiers are not happy.
It's getting expensive now. It's going to be 20 euros.
Before traveling to Rome, we had bought a combo ticket to see the Colosseum, which we had seen before, but also the Roman Forum. And they had designated entry times, and we were actually early, so we had time to walk around the Colosseum before going in, and then we also had a time later in the afternoon for the Roman Forum. When you're walking around the Colosseum and you think this was built 1,945 years ago, it really makes you think of it as quite an engineering marvel. It was built of limestone and travertine, and it takes a third of a mile to go around the whole Colosseum, and it's built on over 6 acres of land in what was the center of Rome. The Colosseum is estimated to be able to hold between 50 and 80,000 spectators at various points in history. It had an average audience of some 65,000, and it was used for gladiatorial contests and public spectacles, including animal hunts, executions, and reenactments of famous battles. They also held plays, dramas, Roman mythology, and briefly mock sea battles. We seemed to keep running into tour groups as we toured around the Colosseum, and there were very heavy crowds, so we decided to get as many of our picture-taking opportunities, and then we were really looking forward to getting to the Roman Forum, which we had never been to before, and taking in all of that history. What amazes me is the technology used in today's stadiums and venues was employed almost 2,000 years ago at the Colosseum. The Colosseum underground, which was also known as the Hypogeum, was a network of tunnels and chambers located beneath the arena floor. It served as a backstage for gladiatorial games and other events, and also housed gladiators, animals, props, and machinery.
I've never seen this view of the Colosseum. That's pretty impressive.
It definitely was an impressive view of the Colosseum, and as we left the Colosseum, we headed towards the Roman Forum. It was surprising to see how long the queue was, but once we got into the Forum, you could move around pretty easily, and it was an enjoyable visit. Well, we started our day at the Colosseum, which is depicted there with number 1. We went by the Arch of Constantine, which was 20, and then once we entered the queue and got into the Roman Forum, we started our tour at number 18, which was the Arch of Titus. As soon as you walk into the Roman Forum, you're struck with awe looking at the Arch of Titus, which was built in 81 AD. The arch was built by 50,000 Jewish slaves, which were captured during the Roman victory, which culminated in the fall of Jerusalem in 71 AD. The 50,000 slaves were brought to Rome and had to build this arch, celebrating their defeat. The Arch of Titus is where the Romans would parade through after returning from a victorious war with the spoils. They would bring animals, slaves, jewels, and they would parade through the town and run right through the Forum. And as you turned around and looked at the Forum, you could just imagine what it was like 1900 years ago.
Alto 6,55 do Campinas Verdade.
Crazy how big it is, isn't it?
It seems like everything in Rome was large, the arches, the pillars, and these pillars at this temple are 50 feet tall and once supported a shaved roof. The Temple of Vesta was Rome's most sacred spot. Inside this circular temple, a flame burned, and Romans believed as long as the sacred flame burned, Rome would stand. The flame was tended to by 6 priestesses known as Vestal Virgins. The Vestal Virgins lived very close to the temple, and these 6 Vestal Virgins were chosen from noble families before they reached the age of 10. They served a 30-year term, tending the flame in the temple. The Vestals were honored and revered by the Romans. They had the power to pardon condemned criminals. They even had their own box at the Colosseum opposite the emperor.
The walkways and cobblestones along the Via Sacra, or Sacred Road, are believed to be original and have been worn by centuries of foot traffic. As you'll see ahead, there's a rut which is pointed to by the yellow arrow, and these were caused by the constant riding of chariots, as we learned in episode 10, Touring Pompeii. We had an amazing day touring the Colosseum and the Roman Forum. Going back in time 2,000 years was quite an adventure, and we could have spent a lot more time there. But now we have to head to the neighborhood of Trastevere, where we're going to be doing a Roman food tour, and that's going to be in episode 12. So if you haven't subscribed to the Port of Indecision channel yet, go ahead and click on subscribe. It's free, and it doesn't require a passport. Remember to give the video a thumbs up, leave your comments, and we'll always reply to them. We'll see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.